Breaking the chains of traditional radio. Giving you more music 24/7.
KPCA, Petaluma, California, 103.3 FM, streaming live on the World Wide Web at kpca.fm. listening to KPCA, Petaluma, California, 103.3 FM, streaming live on the World Wide Web at kpca.fm.
LPFM 103.3 and stream live on the World Wide Web via www.kpca.fm. As this program will be enjoyed by Sherlock fans in more than 36 countries around the world, as well as by our live studio audience here in Petaluma, we ask that you silence all smartphones, cell phones, wireless devices, telegraphs, fax machines, Morse code terminals, foot tapping, random gossip, and that insipid pet parrot that one of you keeps bringing to all of our shows. Send it back to the Amazon or sell it on Amazon. Recording of this program in any way, including shorthand, is absolutely prohibited. There is no intermission, and there is no entering or exiting the museum studio once we go live at 12:10. So if you have to go, go now. The bathrooms are downstage right, which for those of you who are not aficionados of live theater, means that if you walk to the stage and turn left and walk another 2 yards, you're bound to run into a gaggle of frantic thespians who are struggling to get their costumes on and check their lip gloss is on and their eyeliner is straight. Ah, good thing we're on radio. We all have a face for it. Just ask our producer who made his debut as a drag queen last month. Right, Ralphina?
3, 2, 1.
And now, the Petaluma Radio Players, located just north of the Golden Gate Bridge in Northern California, Sonoma County, bring you another provocative radio drama from their home on www.kpca.fm. Our dramas during this week's presentation: The Misadventure of the Beleaguered Bridegroom, by Vince Staden.
The Petaluma Radio Players.
Like talking on air. Hello, welcome to the Petaluma Radio Players production of The Misadventure of the Beleaguered Bridegroom, produced in association with the I Do exhibit at the Petaluma Historical Museum and Library. I'm not your host, I'm not the MC, I'm not even an actor, nor do I play one on Broadway, Netflix, or inside the actor's studio. But I am Vince Staden, the playwright of the comedy you're about to see unfold before you. And I can prove it. I have here a letter addressed to me, Vince Staden. Dearest Vince, it begins rather ominously. We want £30,000 in used banknotes, or we will release the steamy photos of you and a certain royal newlywed. Yours sincerely, Anonymous Blackmailers. P.S. Could you please also get bread and kitten food if you're going to the shops at all today? But don't worry if you aren't. We can probably pick some up later, if we have time after a long, hard day of blackmailing second-rate playwrights. This radio play represents a special commission for the Petaluma Radio Players. I'm flattered that they asked me to write this installment in my series, The Misadventures of Sherlock Holmes, which, happily, you can buy on Amazon.com for only $12, or for £30,000 if you would like me to personally show up and hand it to you. As you've heard, I very much need the money because kitten food, well, it costs an absolute fortune. The subject of this play is the most fiendish and deadly problem Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson have ever had to grapple with: wedding preparations. Now, there is an old traditional rhyme that details what a bride should wear at her wedding for good luck. Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. I had this rhyme in mind throughout the writing of The Misadventure of the Beleaguered Bridegroom, a play which tells a story set in the old days of London in the late 1800s and serves as a new misadventure for Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. Characters I humbly borrow from the brilliant Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Writing for these timeless, endearing characters has never failed to lift my spirits when my mood is blue. I very much hope that for all assembled here today, this show brings laughter and happiness and an irresistible compulsion to give me lots and lots of money. Thank you all for coming. Sit back and enjoy the show. And do remember, I really wasn't kidding about the money.
It is difficult to determine with precision the starting point which led to the events of what became known as the Misadventure of the Beleaguered Bridegroom, as my editor of Strand Magazine repeatedly and heatedly insisted I title my case notes after rejecting my proposed title of The Fluffy Kitten of the Baskerville. Perhaps the wheels of fortune were set in motion by the happy and foolishly in love American sweethearts who visited London that splendid summer.
Exhibition at the British Museum, Day.
Hold still, Sugar Pie. I have you framed perfectly against the exhibit of Queen Elizabeth's incredible wedding dress. You look breathtakingly beautiful, my burning love.
I am keeping as still as I can, Pumpkin, but I am completely smitten and excited by this fabulous exhibition. How delightful are these dresses which will grace the wedding ceremonies of the McNear, Cordell, and Balshaw families. And my heart is always racing with unbridled love and joy when I am with you, my main squeeze, which is, I fear, causing me to shake a little. Not to mention that I have been in this awkward pose for a good half an hour now, Pumpkin, as you prepare your quite silly photographic apparatus. I do hope it won't take this long on our honeymoon.
Just as this glorious exhibition displays the curator's fantastical designs of wedding dresses from the future.
Oh, look, honey bunches. Her calling card says she's also a clairvoyant.
Look at the extraordinary garment curator dreamed up for Miss Marjorie Carpenter when she weds Mr. William Lafayette Reed in 1941. Or this amazing creation Karen Peterson will someday wear when she's predicted to get hitched to Mr. Jack Now in 1982.
My, her family does plan ahead.
I venture, my burning love, that one day a man might produce over 100 clear photographic images in less than a few minutes on a device he could carry in the palm of his hand. Further, this contraption might also be employed as a telegram receiver and receiver.
Oh, you are such a dreamer, my bug. I do so adore you for your nonsensical and borderline insane ramblings, despite Mother's warnings. And I love, too, these delightful and quite imaginative designs of what perhaps the future holds for the fashionable bride. The rather boyish dress from the 1920s, the scandalously low-cut dress from the 1960s, and the most beguiling of all, the glorious wedding gown from 2018. Do you think, Pumpkin, that our future might hold for us wealth enough to afford any dress as beautiful as these?
I'm sorry, Sugar Pie. What was that? I was distracted, for I thought I saw movement right over...
Excuse me. Sorry, in a hurry. Don't just slip me through. Well, that's very pretty. I'm not that I care about such things, of course, because I am actually a man. A man who occupies his time with important business matters and henceforth, yes, must go things to places to see, etc.
How delightfully unusual, Pumpkin. That important businessman who hurried past us seemed to be dressed as a red cat.
Extraordinary, Giggle Mug. Perhaps this is some form of peculiar English performance entertainment? Hence the noise and commotion.
Well, from what I've seen of them so far, my bug, the English are sure peculiar and entertaining.
Excuse me, sorry. In a hurry, giving chase.
Oh, my, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Is that really? We're such fans.
Yes, I am Sherlock Holmes, the world's greatest consulting detective. My mind is a racing engine. My wits are as sharp as any villain's blades. And you'll find my fees quite reasonable. In fact, I'm offering 2 cases for the price of 1 deal this September. I'm a man of action and knowledge. It is my business to know what other people don't know. Where did the thief go?
I thought you said it was your business to know what other people don't know.
It is, but if you know, then it is not something you don't know, which only I would know.
What?
The quarry you seek went that way, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you.
Before you dash off, Mr. Holmes, might I be impertinent enough to ask for your autograph? It would mean the world to us, for we are great enthusiasts of yours visiting from the Americas, before we are to be united in marriage to each other for eternity. Isn't that the case, Pumpkin?
You said it, dearest Sunset, succinctly and beautifully. Mr. Holmes, you could not know how much it would mean to us.
Well then, how can I refuse? Do you have a pen?
I have a pen, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, well, thank you. Are you spelling schnookums with a CH and double O? Yes, there. Now, I must dash. The game is afoot.
Oh, such a nice man, don't you think, Pumpkin? Though much shorter and considerably less handsome than I had pictured.
Excuse me, pardon me, coming through. Scotland Yard's finest police constable on the case. Anyone see where the jewel thief went? Or Sherlock Holmes?
Well, they went that
way.
Much obliged, sir and miss. Never fear, London is safe in my hands.
My part in the narrative begins, I think, one bright September morning in Threadneedle Street in West London. I was feeling increasingly unwell, but determined not to let a slight urge sour me, for I was the happiest of men since the glorious day my beautiful fiancée, Josie, had agreed to be my bride. I almost skipped with gaiety as I made my way to Taylor's boutique, intent on buying the very best wedding suit I could afford.
Interior, Taylor's shop, Threadneedle Street, West London, day.
Lift your arm up a bit, if you don't mind, sir. No, the other arm. No, left one, thank you, sir. I'll just measure this bit here. Getting itched, are we, sir?
Yes, indeed. Very much getting itched. Married, and for the final time.
Final time, is it, sir? What? You're on your way out, are you, sir?
What?
Looking to join the choir invisible? You know, St. Peter at the pearly gates? You're popping your clogs, are you?
No, I meant...
Oh, you was looking a bit peaky, and with that nasty cough, too. Here, it ain't catching, I hope.
No, it's not contagious, I assure you, and it's certainly not fatal, even though it feels like it right now.
Well, lift your leg, please, sir. Thank you very much. Ooh, that's a lot smaller than I thought.
What is?
How do you know it ain't catching then, eh? Seen the doctor, have you? Lift your other leg, please, sir.
I have no need to consult with a doctor because I am a doctor. You know, quite a famous one, in fact, if I say so myself. I am Dr. Watson.
Doctor who? Oh, never heard of you.
No. Well, lots of people have because they've read my stories published in the Strand magazine. The very famous stories. The Sherlock Holmes stories.
Oh, them ones, yes, sir. Never read them myself. I prefers proper literature, not throwaway rubbish.
Steady on.
Oh, but I've heard of Sherlock Holmes. Sure enough, bit of a busybody, if you ask me, poking his big honking nose into other people's business where it don't belong. And he ain't even caught that Scarlet Tiger jewel thief. He's running rings around the police.
Now, that's not at all fair. Holmes investigates cases to help people, often lending invaluable assistance to the police themselves. And as to this Scarlet Tiger jewel thief, well, rest assured that Holmes is hot on the creature's tail.
Oh, that nonsense about clues and deductions. Well, it ain't so clever, if you ask me. I reckon anyone could do it.
Preposterous. Sherlock Holmes has a lightning-quick mind and has dedicated years of his life to the science of deduction. I state with complete confidence that no man on earth could do what he does.
Oh, piece of cake, I reckon. It's easy. All a man's got to do is look closely and make a few wild guesses, like you, for instance, sir. If you'll excuse the impertinence, sir. I can tell everything about you, sir, just from observing you up close. Take off your jacket, if you don't mind, sir.
No, very well, yes. Oh.
Thank you very much. About time.
Let's see, I reckon, anyway.
That's right, I can see.
Of course, as to your fantastic notion of being able to replicate with any modicum of success the intuitive, deductive reasoning so brilliantly employed by the world's greatest consulting detective, I say to you, poppycock! Utter poppycock!
Yes, shoes off now, please, sir, thank you. Now, see, I'd hazard a guess, based on my observations of you, like what Sherlock Holmes does, that you studied at St Bartholomew's Hospital, the initials on your bag, see, sir? And then you trained at Netley as an assistant surgeon in the army, and then you off went to India. That would account, sir, for your fondness of hot curries that I can smell on your breath, sir. Yes, and then you were there with the 5th Northumberland Fusiliers. I've seen your army tie before, see? And then you saw service, sir, in the Second Anglo-Afghan War, and I reckon he was wounded, sir, at the Battle of Maiwand by a Jezail bullet. Then you caught nasty enteric fever. I can see that in your eyes, sir. And so you were sent back home on the troop ship Restaurantes, where you rocked up in shared lodgings in Baker Street. Very identifiable, sir, the Baker Street mud on your shoes. Crusted in over years of walking down the same street. And lastly, you own a puppy, sir, named Basil. That's what I reckons, anyway. See, it ain't so hard, am I right?
No, not at all. No, absolutely not. You're entirely wrong, I'm afraid, on every single detail.
Oh, really, sir? Oh, well, can you take off your tie and shirt now, please?
Yes, here you are. Look, is this going to take much longer? I'm a very busy man with a busy day ahead, and I'm not feeling too well.
Well, trousers off now, please, sir.
Trousers, yes, of course.
And your pants and socks, please, sir.
Pants and socks. I must say I've never had to strip naked before when being measured for a suit.
What, not even for a birthday suit, sir?
Good heavens. What is going on in my shop?
Your shop? I thought this was...
Well, why are you still completely naked, sir, in my exclusive boutique?
Ah, well, about that I can explain. You see,
Quickly, Watson, we must make a run for it.
Holmes! Holmes, is that you? What's going on?
Kill Dr. Watson.
And just who the hell are you, sir? Barging into my shop and roaring threats in an ill-fitting flannel suit with double-breasted lapel?
Kill Dr. Watson. Kill!
Holmes, I'm confused.
I don't doubt it, Watson, old friend, but quickly, we must run. Follow me up the back.
But I'm naked, Holmes.
Kill Dr. Watson. Kill. Use gun. Kill.
Now he's shooting at me. Why is there always someone trying to kill me? I'd like to go one day, just one, without some insane attempt on my life.
Now look here. This is a highly respectable tailor's boutique, and I will not have its reputation sullied by this depravity. I'm sending for a police constable who will be in a matching tight-fitted Oxford cloth navy blue tunic and trousers with lace-up black boots and belt and a peak-cap hat. He'll soon be using his truncheon to have you three boots on your knees, clapped in irons, and given a jolly good spanking.
Let's get out of here.
Behind the tailor's shop, day.
He's following, but he's none too bright or swift on his toes. Hide behind the bins, Watson. I'll face the miscreant.
I think I've sat on something unpleasant. Who is he, Holmes? Why does he want me dead? Why were you in disguise as a tailor? And why did you make me completely disrobe? It's cold, Holmes. I'm going to freeze to death or cause a humiliating public scandal.
Here, this very small and very convenient vulcanized rubber meteorological balloon will do splendid to cover up your...
Thank you, Holmes. I must say again, it's very cold. I think that's important to state.
Kill, Dr. Watson! Kill! Where? Where, Dr. Watson?
I'm afraid you're out of luck, my good fellow. Dr. Watson has pressing business elsewhere. May I help you at all?
Kill! Kill you! Kill you instead!
Ah, well, in that case, I must warn you that amongst other many areas of expertise, I'm a master in Baritsu, a potentially lethal form of self-defense developed in the Orient. Hi-ya! There. You can come out now, Watson. The brute is out cold.
Holmes, you're amazing.
I know.
Though I would have easily seen off the assailant myself if I were not naked. Now, let us go and find...
I will kill you both! Kill you both for what you have done to my big brother.
Oh, no, not another one, an even bigger one.
Die, damn you both, to hell and back. I'll see you done with a bloody deed and desperately dispatched.
Yes, and a much better red one. He's quoting Shakespeare.
And a much better shot, worse luck. These bins won't protect us for much longer.
He's fired 5 shots. When he fires the 6th, the chamber in his revolver will be emptied, and while he reloads, we can head through the narrow alleyways into Covent Garden and into safety.
That's 6. Let's get out of here.
Exterior, Covent Garden, day.
London Messenger, Scarlet Tiger Jewel Thief strikes again. Read to the London Messenger. Get your London Messenger. Read all about the daring jewel thief known as the Scarlet Tiger. All in the London Messenger, just halfpenny.
Roses, sunflowers, tulips, penny a posy, anthuriums, get your pretty flowers here. Valentina heliconias, Dimorphotheca pluvialis osteospermums.
All the popular tunes, it does them all on my violin. Voice of a songbird and demon on the fiddle. For your entertainment, ladies and gentlemen, all the it's the day, just put a coin in me hat to show your appreciation. Daisy, Daisy, give your answer due. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage.
Stay back, Watson. The square is teeming with every person the great metropolis attracts. I fear that my proposition that we should zigzag through the narrow alleyways has rewarded us with but a few minutes' grace before the bounders who are set on murdering you will once again be at our heels.
How are you not breathless and exhausted, Holmes? I'm perspiring from head to foot and knocked empty of wind and strength.
I fancy you've been helping yourself to too many extra helpings of Mrs. Hudson and from your fiancée, Miss Bell. But it is evident, is it not, that you are recovering swiftly from the mystery illness you've been suffering from since sunrise this morning.
Now you come to mention it. Yes, indeed. How curious, and how welcome a turn of events. I'm free of the lousy pox which blighted me all morning, and if I somehow survive the murderous machinations of the brothers Grimm, the day might well be improving.
We will find you, and Dr. Watson will die.
Kill! Kill, Dr. Watson!
The Goliaths are closing in.
Is this a Tuesday, Holmes? I never could get the hang of Tuesdays.
I venture, Watson, that our wisest course of action might well be for you to hide in the flower bed behind the flower girl, whilst I expedite a dramatic change of disguise in order to gain access to the pony and trap at the very far edge of the square, which will serve us well, I think, as a means of escape.
But I can't run into Covent Garden, Holmes. I need to find clothing.
On the contrary, clothing is the very last thing you need. It is because I made you disrobe that your health is improving.
Nonsense, Holmes. I've often been naked, and very seldom has my nakedness improved a situation. No, wait, I didn't mean that. Holmes, where are you going?
There you go, Mr. Holmes. Halfpence, please. 1 London Messenger for you.
Thank you. But indulge my curiosity, young urchin girl. I have adopted a quite brilliant disguise as a respectable tailor. How on earth did you know that I am Sherlock Holmes?
Obvious, sir, innit?
Extraordinary. My friend, you better cover yourself with this newspaper, and then dash to the flower bed and dive into the blooms until you are completely submerged in flora. But hurry, the bounders will be here within seconds, and an east wind is coming. Good luck.
Thank you, Holmes. Here I go. Oh, no, oh, heavens, no, the newspaper!
They must have come out into the square. You look over there, and I'll cover this side. Understood?
Kill! Dr. Watson! Kill!
I'll take that as a yes. Go.
Psst. Violin girl.
Why, hello there, Mr. Holmes. What are you doing hiding there?
How did you know it's me? I'm in disguise as a... Don't forget it, don't worry. I need to ask a favour. I need your violin, your dress, and your hat.
As I hid in a small Eden of delightful English flowers, I could not help but look at a red rose and think happily of my wife-to-be, the beautiful Josie. I was a lucky man because Josie meant everything to me. I looked to the future and our life together with immense hope. As I peeked through primroses, I chortled to see the hapless goons desperately searching Covent Garden.
Have you found him? Please, tell me you found him.
Kill! Dr. Watson! Kill!
You need a thesaurus.
I caught no glimpse of my friend Sherlock Holmes, but as I relaxed in the warmth of the sun and the flowers, dreaming of Josie and of love, I enjoyed immensely the music played by the talented violin girl. Though the strangely looking girl was less talented as a songbird.
I'm half crazy, oh, for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage.
I must have fallen asleep, resting in a haven of golden daffodils like Narcissus. The violin girl shook me awake.
Wake up, Watson. The brutes have finally given up the chase.
What? Are you the violin girl? Oh, I think I was dreaming.
Spit out the flower, Watson. Wake up and jump into the haystack on the cart. You can hide there as I take us back to Baker Street.
Then let's get out of here.
Interior 221B, Baker Street, day.
We tiptoed as gingerly as hungover dormice up the stairs into our shared rooms at Baker Street, thankfully without attracting the attentions of our formidable landlady, Mrs. Hudson, or Elsie, the remarkable housemaid. Whew, we made it. Home alone and safe, Holmes.
Home, Watson, but most assuredly not safe. And certainly not alone.
What? No, don't answer. I don't care. Straight into a hot bath for me, I think.
You have been in Covent Garden, I presume?
No! Josie! Josie, my sweet. What are you doing here? You mustn't see me like this. I don't know what I must look like to you, but I can explain everything. Hang about. How on earth did you know I'd been in Covent Garden?
You are covered head to foot in hay, flowers, and rotting fruit, dearest John. Since the fine array of flowers are the deepest layer, they most assuredly have attached to you first, then the rotting fruit and hay, possibly from a cart. Where else would one find all three in close proximity other than Covent Garden, world-renowned for its many street sellers and entertainers, the likes of which Mr. Holmes appears to be amusingly disguised as? May I pluck this red rose from you? A beautiful scarlet.
Astonishing.
Not at all. As your dear friend and colleague Mr. Holmes would say, it is elementary.
Holmes, did you know my beautiful Belle was here?
Of course.
Then why didn't you warn me?
What are you two boys whispering about, and why are you staring so intently out the window, Mr. Holmes? Has something attracted your attention? Or the man in the shadows opposite, perhaps, who is surreptitiously keeping close surveillance on this house? Or the other man in the gloom of shadow sat patiently waiting in the carriage of the four-wheeler cab, which is suspiciously devoid of all identifiable markings?
Yes, indeed, Miss Bell. You have pointed out two individuals of enormous interest. It would also, I suggest, be profitable for you to widen your gaze to catch sight of the two midget figures, also in half shadow, also keeping watch on our lodgings. My telescope, please, Watson. Thank you. Yes, most interesting. These midgets appear to be reading the Strand magazine.
May I use the telescope, Mr. Holmes? Yes. Thank you. Yes, I see them, though I cannot concur with your supposition that they are midgets, not wearing that colour nail polish. You are entirely correct, though, that they are reading the Strand magazine, edition dated February 1892, I think.
Really? That would be, let me think. Yes, The Adventure of the Speckled Band. Rather a good one, that, if I do say so myself. And now, if you'll both excuse me, I am for a hot bath. I'll ring for Elsie, the remarkable housemaid.
How can I help, sir?
Bah! Elsie, what are you doing here?
I've been cleaning, sir, while I waited for Mr. Holmes to return, so I can read him some urgent telegram, sir.
Elsie is acting under my instructions, Doctor.
Mrs. Hudson! Good grief! Are there any other members of the fairer sex concealed in our rooms, waiting to announce their presence as I stand here, humiliated? Is Her Majesty Queen Victoria hiding in my bathtub?
Do snap out of it, Doctor. It is nothing us ladies of the world have not seen before. Now, I shall run your bath, Doctor, and bring your pot of hot tea and a slice of Victoria sponge cake. And of course, tea and extra cake for you too, Miss Josephine. Meanwhile, the remarkable Elsie will deliver the urgent telegrams to you, Mr. Holmes, and await your response.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudson. Now, where did I put my microscope? Ah.
Is that my sock you're examining, Holmes?
Yes, Watson. I believe it to be highly dangerous.
I am completely in accord, Mr. Holmes.
You may read the telegrams, Elsie.
My feet may pong a bit, Holmes, after a busy day on my toes as a physician and, of course, assisting you in my cases. But there's no need to suggest that my worn socks are toxic.
Well, there is every need to suggest exactly that. Go on, Elsie.
Thank you, sir. First one is from Dr. Mortimer at Baskerville Hall, sir.
Good heavens, Baskerville Hall? I always meant to go back there someday to see how Sir Henry is getting on, now that the spectral hound is slain and he is safe.
Message reads, Mr. Holmes, please come at once to Baskerville Hall. Sir Henry in grave danger.
Throw it on the fire, Elsie. I fear Dr. Mortimer has been on the sherry again.
What? Holmes?
He periodically drinks himself insensible, and childless he thinks it would be an amusing wheeze to summon me on false pretences to the most desolate and remote mires of Dartmoor. Last month he got hammered on Chianti and telegrammed me that Sir Henry was being menaced by a giant ghostly squirrel.
The squirrel of the Baskervilles.
Oh, shame. That sounded quite promising. Do they even have squirrels on Dartmoor?
No.
Next telegram is from Inspector Lestrade, sir.
Flummoxed by Scarlet Tiger jewel thief case. I'm just a stupid, bumbling policeman who is nowhere near as dazzlingly brilliant and as amazing as you are. Please help, etc., Lestrade. No, I'm not laying it on too strong, Constable. Just dictate the bloody telegram. No, not every word, you idiot. Just the first bit. No, I'm not repeating it. Jesus, where are they getting recruits from these days?
Poor Inspector Lestrade.
The next one's unsigned, sir. Message simply reads, you know who I am, and you know what this message means.
A highly cryptic and sinister message. Yes, I have a notion as to the identity of the sender.
This last one's for you, Dr. Watson.
From me? From who?
From whom, John dear?
It's another anonymous one, sir. It simply reads, if you value your life, you will not marry Miss Josephine Bell. You have been warned.
Oh, my!
Good heavens! More threats on my life. That settles it. It must definitely be a Tuesday.
Interior 221B, Baker Street, the next day.
The next morning, I woke to discover that every garment I owned, from socks to hats, was missing, and that a single set of replacement clothing was laid out waiting for me. I dressed quickly in ill humor, and then discovered I was wearing one of Holmes's disguises. It was, in fact, the disguise of Escott the plumber that Holmes had employed during the case of the despicable blackmailer Charles Augustus Milverton.
Not today, thank you. We have no need for the services of a plumber.
I'm not amused, Holmes, not in the slightest.
Good heavens! Is that really you, Watson?
Your behavior is completely outrageous, Holmes, even for you. You seem determined to strip me of my own clothing, a project you're attacking with such zeal and unwavering purpose, that it seems as if my very life depended on it. Oh, Holmes, I think I understand. The illness I was stricken with, my clothes. My clothes have been poisoned.
Well done, Watson. That is indeed what has occurred. Some unconscionable fiend has set his mind on doing you in, old friend, and I will not let that happen.
Thank you, Holmes.
When you stepped into our rooms first thing yesterday morning, I noted immediately that you had been mysteriously stricken. I followed your progress throughout your morning chores as a man about town, preoccupied with arrangements for your wedding. You were growing more sick by the hour, and furthermore you were being followed by those two Goliaths. I had to think fast and intervene. Hence my disguise as a tailor who could plausibly and swiftly get you to step out of your clothes.
Brilliant, Holmes. Quite brilliant.
I have been minutely examining your rancid Argyle sock for quite some time. A sentence I never once imagined would ever escape my lips. And I have satisfied myself that I have now correctly identified the nature of the toxin. The poisoner was exceptionally clever. They disguised the poison in some kind of industrial washing agent. I shall know soon enough the source of both chemicals, and the information will lead me to your enemies, Watson.
I will be by your side, Holmes, revolver in hand, as always.
Not this time, Watson. I need you to stay here, where you are safe.
No, Holmes.
I insist, old friend. Besides, your very interesting fiancée will be calling on you sometime soon at my behest to deliver to you a parcel.
I tried to argue a case for accompanying Holmes on his hunt for the poisoner, but the detective was unmoved on the matter. He stationed himself at the window as if watching over all of London, and he remained there as I ate a delicious breakfast of smoked chickens, sausages, bacon, real eggs, roasted boar with potatoes and carrots, curried emu heads and peas, all washed down with lashings of hot tea, and followed by leftover cake, ginger biscuits, lemon tart, sticky toffee pudding, and croquembouche. After breakfast, our rooms were a familiar bustle of activity as a full roster of desperate clients called upon Mr. Sherlock Holmes to engage his services.
Please help me find my dad. You knows our code, no police, never. So here I am, asking you instead. And don't think I can't pay you, because I brought all my savings, all of it. And I saved for years and all. I reads fortunes at the fair, that's how I earn, see? And don't think me stupid or fussing over nothing. I knows my dad. It ain't right. Something's happened to him.
And what does your father do to earn a coin? Does he too work at the fair?
I don't need to work, as he runs the fairground up on Primrose Hill. Here he did. Since he's gone, the fair's been shut down. And I've been having to set up my stall where I can. My two tattoos is what he did. Junks and sailors mostly. He ain't never was rushed off his feet, truth be said. Only he was well aflutter about a secret job, he said. Lots of money.
A job? At the fair?
No, he left the fair. And that was the last that I saw of him. Fair's all closed up now. Please find him, Mr. Holmes. Find my dad.
No sooner had the gypsy girl left, after swiftly reading my fortune, she claims I'm fated to soon be all tied up, whatever that's supposed to mean, than another desperate client sat opposite Sherlock Holmes.
The mice! Herr Holmes, the mice, ja? Little mice, they scurry and they squeak, squeaky, squeaky, and they clean their little whiskers.
Mice?
Exactly so. Mice, squeaky mice. They're all gone, Herr Holmes. Kaput, vanished. Bye-bye, mice. Squeaky, squeaky.
And how is that a problem? Surely you want your home free of rodents.
Nein is big problem, huge problem. How to explain? Here, my card.
Well, Herr Fledermaus and his amazing performing mice, Squeaky Squeaky.
Exactly so. The mice, they dance and they jump through hoops of flame and they sing squeaky, squeaky.
And now they've all gone.
Find them. The mice, Herr Holmes. Find the mice.
As Herr Fledermaus forlornly left our rooms, the Duchess of Bristol barged her way in and demanded of Holmes his exclusive attention.
Now, look here. You have impertinently ignored my urgent summons, forcing me to make a dreadful and tiresome journey to come here to your exceedingly shabby rooms. So I shall not leave here until you have retrieved my stolen jewels and handed them back to me, for which service I suppose you will demand payment. You dreary working men are obsessed with such vulgar things as wages. It's never enough for you commoners to be grateful for being usefully employed in the service of your betters and...
Begging your pardon, Mr. Holmes, sir, but you said I was to tell you straight away when the message came, sir.
Quite right, Elsie.
What is the meaning of this outrageous interruption?
Oh, do please be quiet. The message, Elsie.
The message reads, Dear brother, only the Royal Laundry uses the washing powder. Mycroft.
Ha! Of course! I should have realised. Thank you, Elsie. Please immediately escort the Duchess off the premises. Your Grace, I refuse your case, and I expect never to hear from you ever again. My dear Stalker hat and Inverness cape, please, Elsie. Thank you. Watson, stay here. There's dirty work to do, and I must start at the laundry.
Interior 221B Baker Street, a little later.
I was enjoying a peaceful mid-morning snooze in my favourite armchair, letting my breakfast settle and my weary bones rest, when I was awakened by an urgent rapping at the door. I smiled and yawned my way to open it, for I knew that my beloved Josie had come to pay me a visit. But it was not the lovely Josie at the door.
We're here to see Sherlock Holmes as clients. Important clients.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, but Sherlock Holmes is not here.
We don't mind at all. We'll come in and wait for him.
I would much rather you didn't. Oh, you've let yourself in. Fine.
Did you see the match last night? Got any beers? Pardon me.
Now, look here. Are you sure you're genuine clients of Sherlock Holmes? We've had some very strange fellows on our tails of late, and I...
Get him!
Stop! Stay back! Get off me! What are you doing? I warn you, I'm a highly trained army doctor with the 5th Northumberland Fusiliers. I am... Ow! Don't pull my moustache! Hurts! I'm proficient in unarmed... Ouch! No biting! Proficient in unarmed combat and... I confess that the particulars of how I was rendered unconscious must for now go unrecorded, for I most certainly had the upper hand over the two strange young men, and I could see the fear in their eyes. And yet, somehow, inexplicably, they delivered to me a knockout blow which felled me instantly and rendered me insensible. I awoke a few minutes later to a very sore head and to the uncomfortable realization that I was tightly bound to a chair. And then the door opened and an angel walked into our rooms to save me.
Knock, knock. I hope you will forgive the impertinence of letting myself in, dear sweet John, but good heavens, John, you're tied to a chair. How delightful. Is this some special courtship game you'd like us to play, naughty, naughty John?
Josie, my sweet. Oh, thank God. No, my love, this isn't some form of game that... Hang about. Exactly what kind of game do you have in mind?
Never mind. Let me untie you.
No, really, I'm very interested.
Ha! Leave him. He's ours.
Heavens! Where did girls pop up from?
Oh, they're not girls, my love. They're gentlemen clients.
We love him.
Adore him.
He's so dishy.
And dreamy.
I cannot in all good standing disagree with you girls, but here's mine, so back off.
Get her!
I must warn you ladies that I am a mistress in Baritsu, a potentially lethal form of self-defense developed in the Orient. Hi-ya!
Ah! Oh, stop!
There. You're safe now, John. These silly girls are out cold.
My sweet, you are amazing.
I know.
I have an acute feeling of déjà vu.
Poor John, you have been in the wars. Shall I kiss you, make you better?
Yes, please.
We must hurry away.
They're getting away. You must stop them, Josie, my dear. They must pay for their crimes. Have them arrested, put on trial, and hanged.
Many a good hanging prevents a bad marriage.
Damn it! They've escaped.
They're just silly little girls who have taken a shine to you, my love. Bear them no more mind, and let me untie you. Oh, time, thou must untangle this, not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie. There, you are free.
Thank you, Josie. And I would have it so that I am never free of you.
Do you really mean that, John?
Every word.
You're not having second thoughts?
From the happy day I met you, I have thought of nothing else but being your husband who will be with you for the rest of our lives. The only pause I have, as you know, concerns your unwillingness to trust me completely and tell me something of your past.
The one thing I cannot do.
I have confessed to you everything. My military career, my medical practices, even my tragic marriages.
The merry wives of Watson. My love, surely a woman is allowed to be draped sometimes in a cloak of mystery?
Some mystery, yes. Josephine, a husband and wife should have no secrets from each other.
And we shan't, I promise.
Oh, then you have decided at last to confide in me about your mysterious past?
No, that I cannot do.
Oh!
But you must trust me, my love, when I tell you that once we are wed, I will be an open book to you, except for the chapters pertaining to my past.
We're at an impasse, then.
Sadly, yes, it would appear so.
You will not cede?
Will you?
No.
Nor I.
Fine, then.
Fine.
Good.
Whatever.
Thank you for rescuing me.
Not a problem. Anytime.
Good.
Fine.
What brings you here today out of interest? Holmes said you had a package of some sort?
Yes, indeed. Here, for you. New clothing from suits, pajamas, socks, undergarments, and bowler hats.
My word, this is very welcome. These clothes are very fine indeed.
Only the very best.
Where did you get them?
We went shopping, the girls and I. Mrs. Hudson and Elsie, the remarkable maid. Mr. Holmes provided us with your exact measurements.
I wondered where Mrs. Hudson and Elsie, the remarkable maid, had gone. But, Josie, these clothes must have cost a fortune. How on earth could you afford it?
Money is not an issue for me, John.
Another secret?
Let us please not quarrel again.
I agree. Thank you, my sweet. The clothes are most welcome. I am very taken with this bowler.
You look very handsome in it.
You mentioned earlier about a kiss?
Yes, that is a good idea.
Watson! Miss Bell!
Damn it, Holmes, your timing. It's just... Holmes!
He's been shot!
Holmes! Josie, my bag, quickly. Holmes, stay with me. You've lost a lot of blood. Looks like a shoulder wound.
Beware, Watson.
What is it, Holmes? What or who should I be aware of?
Professor Moriarty. He's alive, Watson. Alive and burning with singular purpose. To stop your wedding with a bomb.
Exterior, duck pond, day.
Professor James Moriarty, the Napoleon of crime, seldom has need to stir from his chair to venture outdoors. But though a sedentary, intellectual creature, the professor is not physically inferior. He has great muscle strength and is exceedingly well practiced in the martial arts. This latter fact I discovered when I found myself in a life and death struggle at the Reichenbach Falls some years earlier. And today I once again grappled intellectually and bodily with the mad professor over a body of water. the duck pond, near the children's sandpits on Horsell Common.
I have given the matter much thought, Mr. Holmes, and I have reached the inescapable conclusion that I really don't like you very much.
I'm devastated, Professor. How can I go on living? You care so little for me.
Trap arm, target weakness, follow with poked eyes.
Yeah! Kick shin. Disturb his balance. Follow with bendy finger.
Oh, bit. Pow. Ooh. Ooh. Ow. Ouch, that really hurt. But though I really don't like you, the man I absolutely loathe with every fiber of my being is Dr. friggin' Watson. I hate him. Hate him. Hate him. I hate him. I hate his stupid stories for the Strand magazine. Yes. I hate his friendly doctor shtick. I hate his tedious. But Holmes, there's one thing I don't understand, routine. The thing I hate the most is his mustache, and I certainly hate his
Interior, 221B Baker Street, day.
Holmes, are you sure you're quoting the professor verbatim?
Quite sure, Watson, quite sure.
I find it entirely credible that the professor would say such things.
What do you mean?
Nothing, my love.
How are you doing with removing the bullet from my shoulder, Doctor?
If you were to stay still, Holmes, and stop squirming around like a girl, I would be able to quickly and effectively perform the procedure.
Perhaps you would do better to begin your narrative at the beginning, Mr. Holmes, from the moment you received a telegram about washing powder.
A splendid idea, Miss Bell. To begin at the beginning, then, the telegram from my brother Mycroft informed me that the only washing powder with the precise chemical composition I had determined from microscopic analysis of Watson's poisoned sock is to be found in an industrial washing detergent used by the laundries at Buckingham Palace.
That certainly sounds like the kind of utterly obscure and useless fact Mycroft Holmes would know. Here is the bullet. 38 caliber, I think.
Good job, Watson. My first port of call, then, was the Westminster Laundry, where the royal family have their washing cleaned. The young American woman in charge of staff there is named Meghan Markle.
Interior, 221B Baker Street.
Would you mind hurrying this story along, Holmes? I'm very keen to get to the bit about a bomb.
Of course. The two teenage girls are Violet and Olivia Mountschott, and they are the very same girls who were keeping watch on this house. I thought them midgets. Who then disguise themselves with fake beards to present themselves as clients in order to gain access to these rooms. They knocked you unconscious, and then the girls tied you to the chair you are now sitting on, Watson, and they searched for and then found the notebook from which they ripped the pages filled with your notes on preparations for the wedding.
I saw them off, Mr. Holmes, with little difficulty.
I wish I could have been here to bear witness to such sport, Miss Bell. The Mountschott family live in a fashionable quarter of Chelsea. I broke into the house and discovered a box of the powder the girls had stolen from the Westminster Laundry and traces of the poison used to lace your clothing, Watson. The girls must have been observing the laundry routine at 221B Baker Street and noted that your clothing is washed and dried on Wednesdays. After leaving the house in Chelsea, I was amused to discover that I was being followed, rather ineptly, by the two blundering goons who attacked us in the tailor's boutique. I realised that I had all along been manipulated to follow the brutes, and that I had walked into a trap. Professor Moriarty chuckled, and then he turned to face me.
Exterior, Duck Pond, day.
Ducks, Mr. Holmes, should not be fed breadcrumbs. It makes them ill. Do you know what they really like to eat? Golem, brute, seize him and bring him to me.
Gotcha, Holmes. Thought you was clever, didn't you? Well, it was us who had you outsmarted.
Golem? Brute? Huh, please tell me those are stage names, for I could scarcely conceive of how cruel your parents must have been to give you such names.
What about you? What about your parents? Sherlock?
That's a fair point.
Leave us now. Stand guard nearby. Keep Holmes in your gun sights at all times. He's proven to be quite the slippery fellow.
Yes, boss.
Well, this is nice. You, me, murderous giants, ducks, just like old times.
Hardly.
Circus strongmen, aren't they? Brute and Golem. Recently tattooed with 2 triangles. Your mark.
You didn't answer my question, Mr. Holmes.
What do ducks like to be fed? I don't know.
Meat.
Ah, the missing gypsy fairground owner and tattoo artist.
Ah, the most efficient way to solve a problem is to take it apart, piece by piece.
You're quite mad, Professor.
Madness, Mr. Holmes, is sanity for clever people.
No, it isn't. That's meaningless.
Ah, madness, sanity, good and evil. Order and chaos, Mr. Holmes, are mathematically... Measuring one is measuring the other. For to the advanced mathematician, there are merely different directions on the same continuum. More order is less chaos. And order and chaos are words with the same number of letters.
Rather like our names, in fact.
Moriarty has 8 and Holmes has...
I was thinking more of Sherlock.
A good point, well made. As you were. Chaos can be very useful. Jewel thieves dressed as red tigers on the prowl. Teenage girls causing havoc. Circus freaks stalking the streets.
I suppose we'd better grapple each other and exchange insults. That's usually how our meetings go.
Very well. Well, I really don't like you, but I really hate Dr. Watson. I hate, above all, that he has taken Josephine from me. And for that, bride and groom will be blown to bits.
Interior 221B, Baker Street.
The fight went on for a while, until I overpowered the madman and pushed him into the duck pond. I told the professor he needs to seek help.
Yes, perhaps a quack.
Well, then I ran for it. I thought for a moment that fortune was smiling, but Golem's aim was too good, and I took a bullet in the shoulder. Ah!
Interior 221B, Baker Street.
Watson? Watson, wake up!
You won't rouse him, Mr. Holmes.
Ah, you drugged his tea.
No, I just think he got bored with you droning on and on. Oh, sorry, couldn't resist. Of course I drugged his tea. As soon as you mentioned Professor Moriarty, I knew I could not let John hear your story, for I knew he would speak of me and my connection to him.
He doesn't know you're the Scarlet Tiger?
Of course not. John Watson is above all things your loyal friend. If he knew I had any connection to Professor Moriarty, he would want nothing to do with me.
I see.
You knew all along, of course.
Of course. But I had to give chase to keep up appearances.
I'm retired. I think it's important you know that. The Duchess of Bristol was my last job. I want no more to do with Professor Moriarty.
And what is your connection to Moriarty?
He was, note the past tense, very useful to me in a business sense.
He seems to think there was more to it than that.
You saw him. He's insane. He became obsessed with me, or an idea of me. He saw me as a puzzle he could solve. I was just another of his mad preoccupations.
Fascinating.
I know you do not like me, Mr. Holmes, but I implore you, please, do not tell any of this to John.
It is not that I dislike you. I merely distrust you, as I do all women.
Time's up, Mr. Holmes. The day is coming when such an admission will be considered shocking.
I have no doubt, and I welcome the march of progress. Nonetheless, in the here and now, women have seldom been an attraction to me, for my brain has always governed my heart. The fair sex is Watson's department, and I leave him to his follies.
It is more than that, I think. You are protective of John, and you do not think me a suitable wife.
Interior.
You are listening to KPCA, Petaluma, California, 103.3 FM.
Over the next week, as Holmes recovered, The detective allied himself with Inspector Lestrade and the full resources of the Metropolitan Police Force as they organized a citywide manhunt for Professor Moriarty and his accomplices. Moriarty was to be charged with the murder of the gypsy tattooist. Lestrade had gathered up 18 ducks from the pond on Horsell Common, and as the birds were now key pieces of evidence, they were kept safe to splash around happily in several bathtubs in New Scotland Yard.
Well, we haven't found any evidence yet, but the men are having plenty of eggs for their breakfast these days.
I'm sure you'll soon crack the case, Inspector Lestrade.
Very droll, Miss Bell.
Sherlock Holmes put his racing engine of a mind to work on the problem. Employing his system of data analysis, logical synthesis, and intuitive deduction, Holmes theorized as to where the search would be better directed.
The professor will be well hidden in the shadowy underground and exceedingly well protected. Nevertheless, it is, I believe, entirely possible to hypothesize probable nexus points.
Run that by me again.
It is elementary, Lestrade. I'm suggesting that we approach the matter as the professor himself would. The wedding exhibition at one point of the triangle, Horsell Common, where the professor goes duck hunting, that's another. Your odd duck will represent it, Watson.
I want it back after you've used it, Holmes.
Buckingham Palace is the third spot, and here is to be found the Windsor Laundry. The North Haitian voodoo doll will mark its spot.
Hang about. That doll, it looks like a crude likeness of me. No wonder I'll keep getting pins and needles.
Mere coincidence, Lestrade. The British Museum, the Duck Pond, and the Windsor Laundry are 3 points forming a triangle. Now, add Baker Street, and we'll mark it with this bottle of cocaine.
I want that back afterwards as well.
And here is Chelsea, where Viola and Olivia Mountcott live. These tasty Chelsea buns shall do fine.
Ooh, nothing like a good Chelsea bun or two.
And lastly, this matchstick model of the abandoned Gypsy Fairground in Primrose Hill will represent the abandoned Gypsy Fairground in Primrose Hill. The third point on a second triangle. Place them side by side, and you have two perfect mathematical shapes forming a letter M. The very design tattooed on the forearms of the circus strongmen Golem and Brute, the marauding giants in Moriarty's employ.
Brilliant. Brilliant, Holmes.
Thank you, Watson. There, Inspector Lestrade, there in the centre between these two triangles is where the search should focus.
You mean New Scotland Yard? You think Professor Moriarty is hiding from the police at the police headquarters in New Scotland Yard?
Interior 221B, Baker Street.
But as the search went on, day after day, and the chances of finding the fiend grew ever slim, the hateful campaign against my forthcoming marriage to Miss Josephine Bell continued unabated, for it would seem that the professor and his gang had not slackened in their efforts to prevent the wedding. Bad news arrived daily. On Monday...
Telegram for you, Dr. Watson. It's from the church, sir, where you was planning to have your wedding, sir. Message says that you can't use the church no more, sir, as the building has had to be closed indefinitely to the public owing to an outbreak of rodents.
No church? Rodents? What madness is this?
Yes, Watson, Ratoni petalumini, a quite common species and quite voracious. That's one mystery solved at least. We now know what happened to Herr Fledermaus's performing mice.
Squeaky, squeaky.
On Tuesday...
Telegram for you, Dr. Watson, sir. From the Reverend Upthorpe. He writes that he regrets to say that he can no longer perform the marriage service, owing to the fact that he has lost his voice.
Ha! An old criminal underworld novel.
What?
A simple but effective trick to silence witnesses, surreptitiously introduce small amounts of diluted acid to meals, resulting in throat and larynx inflammation and loss of voice.
On Wednesday...
From the caterers, sir. They
have to cancel.
Yes, sir.
More mice?
Ants, sir.
Ants?
In the sugar, sir.
On Thursday...
From the musicians, sir.
Let me take a wild stab in the dark. And so it went on, with Friday seeing cancellations from guests, the photographer, the florist, and even my dog.
Woof, woof, woof.
What do you mean you have a prior engagement with a poodle and a bone?
Aha! I have it, Watson. I have the perfect plan.
Splendid, Holmes. Let me hear it.
You must get married this coming Monday. Watson, it will give us the weekend to prepare.
Why are you suddenly keen to see me married? I thought you didn't like Josie, nor had you any interest in our courtship.
We have fruitlessly scoured all of London looking for Moriarty. I propose, therefore, a different approach. We will bait the professor with a Judas goat.
Oh, what?
A goat used to herd sheep into a slaughterhouse named after Judas Iscariot.
Why on earth do we need a goat, or indeed to herd sheep into a slaughterhouse?
The slaughterhouse is the British Museum. The goat is you, my friend, and the sheep represent Professor Moriarty and his gang. We must place you in mortal danger, Watson, dangle you in front of the enraged madman, and hope that he tries to kill you. It is the only way, Watson, that we can thwart the diabolical scheme to blow you to kingdom come with high explosives. Watson? Watson, where have you gone?
Interior, hansom cab in motion, day.
It is with deep shame and regret that I must record how I fled London. I had certainly never dreamed that wedding arrangements would be the breaking of me. But over the past week or so, I had been a beleaguered bridegroom who had been shot at, poisoned, chased, attacked, knocked unconscious, tied to a chair, robbed, and humiliated. My bride-to-be refused to tell me a single thing about her life. An evil criminal mastermind was intent on seeing me dead, and my best friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, intended for me to be used as bait so that Professor Moriarty might get the chance to blow me sky-high with a bomb. London, Holmes, the wedding, even Josie. None of these things held for me, in that moment of despondency, much appeal. And it seemed an entirely sensible course of action to take to my heels, hail a cab, and run far, far away. The dog insisted on coming with me.
Interior, British Museum, day.
Flowers over here, please. Chop, chop. The wedding starts in half an hour, and I need this place looking like it is entirely suited for the occasion.
Ah, but Mrs. H., the museum is hosting the wedding exhibition. How could it not look appropriate for a wedding?
I'll have none of your backtalk, Inspector Lestrade. Make yourself useful and help Constable Cribb with those chairs.
It's all right, Miss H. I got this sorted. Oops, sorry. I'm all right. Just a head wound.
I swear, Inspector, that your constable would need help to remember his own name.
I find him quite sweet, ma'am.
Now, don't you go getting silly on me, Elsie. How's the food coming along?
The cake is ready, ma'am, awaiting your inspection. The sandwiches are prepared, save for the deeply weird lark's tongue and watercress ones, ma'am, as I'm having difficulty finding the watercress.
Use stinging nettles instead. Nobody can tell the difference. Now, Elsie, I want you to move that part of the exhibition which has all those wedding dresses from the future.
Yes, ma'am. Begging your pardon, ma'am. Hope you don't mind me asking. But where is the bride and groom? I see nothing of Dr. Watson since Friday, ma'am.
Don't you worry about that, Elsie. Mr. Holmes assures me that he has everything under control. And when has he ever let us down?
There was that time when he had the giant rat of Sumatra living in his room and nearly gave you an heart attack. And that time when you was kidnapped by the Baker Street irregulars.
Yes, Elsie. That will be enough now. Attend to your duties, girl. And no more fraternizing with the gormless Constable Cribb.
I'm all right. It's just a chair leg stuck in my backside. I'll be free soon.
Well, now, I don't quite have a way with words like Dr. Watson, though he's much too long-winded, if you ask me. The Hound of the Baskervilles could have been told in under 6 pages if he had cut all the waffle, and I have never before needed to be the narrator of a story, but I was always taught to get on with things with no fuss, so here I am. It was a glorious late September day, and the wedding exhibition made a simply splendid venue. ties. Yes, I am referring to you, sir. That is quite a dreadful winter knot. At 3 o'clock, the musicians struck up an entirely appalling version of Here Comes the Bride, making me immediately suspicious that they didn't know one end of an instrument from another. I have been asked on occasion by all manner of interested people what Mr. Sherlock Holmes is really like. I can only ever answer truthfully. He is the most irritating person I have ever known. An absolutely infuriating man, quite dreadful. And no finer example of his irritating ways was demonstrated than directly after the musicians began murdering the wedding march, when Mr. Holmes bounded up to address the room.
Interior British Museum, Day.
Greetings, everyone, and let me extend to you all a warm thank you for coming here today. For those that do not know me, I am Sherlock Holmes, the world's only consulting detective. My rates are most reasonable, and I would instruct anyone who wishes to engage my services, there's probably a few of you here, to please stay behind after the ceremony. Before we get started with the marriage ceremony, though, there are a few points that I wish to draw to your attention, such as the curious waitresses. You may note their ill-fitting uniforms, unsuccessful use of makeup to beautify their grotesque faces, and their extraordinary bulk and size. For these are not genuine dainty waitresses in pretty pinafores. They are, in fact, the murderous strongman, golem, and brute who are in the employ of Professor Moriarty.
Damn you, Sherlock Holmes.
Kill! Kill Dr. Watson!
It took ages to paint these nails. It seems our deception has been uncovered, for we are betrayed.
Your fault. All your fault.
Et tu, brute?
Constable Cribb, would you be so kind?
My pleasure, Mr. Holmes. I'll knock him out with a chair.
Oh, Constable Cribb, you're so strong. And
that's enough of that, Elsie.
Good work, Constable.
I'll clap in irons for you, Mr. Holmes, sir. And just to be on the safe side, I'll smack him with a chair again.
That'll be enough, Constable. We don't want to be getting any complaints about police brutality.
The next persons of interest are also in disguise. Take a close look at the two musicians. Ladies and gentlemen, and note they are holding their instruments the wrong way up.
I knew it.
And observe their fake beards. I found hairs from identical beards on the floor of our shared rooms at 221B Baker Street after my friend and colleague had been attacked. Attacked by the very same miscreants, Olivia and Viola Mountschott, who are in the employ of Professor Moriarty.
If music be the food of love, play on. Hi, hi.
I'll handle this. Hi.
Well, you're a smasher, you are. Well,
quite enough flirting, everybody.
I quite agree. Nonetheless, good work, Elsie.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll tie him up and clean him away, ma'am.
And now, without further ado, we must proceed with the wedding. But before we start the ceremony, I must ask, is there anyone present here who objects to this couple getting married?
Yes, I do. I strongly object to this marriage.
The florist?
No, Mrs. Hudson, he's not the florist. He may be in disguise as a pretty flower girl, but beneath the illusion is the world's most daring and cunning criminal mastermind, the Napoleon of crime himself, Professor James Moriarty.
Yes, it is I, Professor Moriarty, and I am proudly admit to the glory of being the superior criminal in all of recorded history. A felonious strain runs through my blood, for I'm the greatest schemer of all time, the organizer of every devilry, the controlling brain of the underworld. I must repeat and emphasize in the strongest possible terms that I object to this marriage, and I decree that it must not take place. Oh, you have been clever, Holmes, rushing forward the wedding to bait me into a trap. But now I have crashed the wedding, and I intend one grand act of destruction. Dr. Watson will never marry Josephine, for she belongs to me. She shuns me and has told me that her association with me is over. She wishes no longer to be the scourge of high society, the daring jewel thief known as the Scarlet Tiger. Yes, Dr. Watson. Wherever you are, you intend to wed an audacious, notorious criminal, but this is a union that will never come to pass, for I have a bomb. Yes, a really big bomb.
The professor never got to finish his threat because Constable Cribb hit him very hard over the head with a chair.
Huh?
Well, get on with it. And then Inspector Lestrade clapped him in irons and gagged him using one of my napkins, the cream ones, with the blue frills that I bought in the haberdashery store in Camden, along with a matching tablecloth that I loaned to Mrs. Carter and still haven't seen returned, despite these stern letters I've sent her.
And now, the wedding ceremony can begin! Except, I regret to say that it will not be Dr. Watson and Miss Josephine Bell who will be married today. Dr. Watson did not at all like my plan of baiting Professor Moriarty, and he did not like the idea of being in a building with a bomb in it. I therefore must ask, is there anyone in the house willing to tie the knot at this very moment?
Mr. Holmes? Mr. Holmes? We would be delighted to be wed here today in this wonderful place. Isn't that true, Ralph?
Yes, Kendra, my sugar pie. We sure would be thrilled.
Splendid! Then please come down here. The Reverend who was to perform the ceremony has unfortunately lost his voice. Is there a vicar in the house?
I am not a vicar, Mr. Holmes, but I am ordained and legally permitted to marry.
That is excellent. And who might you be?
I am Sir Pies of Sherry's Pies.
Well, Sir Pies. What a surprise, Sir Pies. Will you marry Ralph and Kendra, who are most conveniently dressed to be wed?
I would be delighted to.
Oh.
We were locked in the museum. Mr. Holmes, we were locked in the museum last night, and we couldn't resist trying on the wonderful garments on exhibit here.
Well, quite right. And now I shall take my seat, and you and Ralph shall be wed.
Oh, my.
Interior wedding scene exhibition, day.
Welcome to all who are here, friends and family. On this day, in this place, the Petaluma Historical Museum and Library, we've taken ourselves out of the usual routines of daily living to witness a truly unique moment in the lives of Kendra and Ralph. Today they will join their lives in marriage. You have chosen a beautiful passage from the Song of Songs, chapter 2, verses 10 through 12, to illustrate your new beginnings. My beloved spoke to me, "Arise, my darling, my fair one, come away. For now the winter is past, the rains are over and gone, the blossoms have appeared in the land, the time of pruning has come. The song of the turtle dove is heard in our land. The green figs form on the fig tree. The vines in blossom give off fragrance. Arise, my darling, my fair one, come away." The couple have written their own vows, using words given by and to each other to convey their love and declarations to one another. Ralph provided the words hotel, tube, frequency, audition, and play. Kendra provided the words signal, drama, on air, bandwidth, and broadcast. Each has written their vows using all 10 of these words in their own unique way. Ralph?
With 10 words you requested that I vow to be your love, forever and for always, beneath the clouds above. The search took only seconds, like those akin to shows that we've produced together, though sometimes nobody knows. The frequency we've done so in the past months sometimes has stretched our bandwidth. It's happened more than once. You saw me up on stage, the venue a hotel. Who knew that in the seats sat a girl who found me swell? Before your first audition, that note you sent one day, "I have a face for broadcast, make room in your next play." Your short and simple message you sent to my inbox would signal a beginning. You had my heart on lock. Our 1940 zenith, the one our troupe enshrines, has never known a tube to glow as brightly as our shines. Our hearts, likewise, have never known the power of a pair, whose love ascends with lovely light that's brighter than on air. And now please walk beside me. Here I pledge before this comma to love you cherished always as we live our lifetime drama.
What started out with an audition and a chance to play a leading role has become an epic storybook drama. Who knew that electric current, which passes between us, channeled by an electron tube, would lead us to this place on this day? I know that joining my life to yours will only make our signal stronger. I will share my energy with you to make our bandwidth broader. Like our special favorite hotel, I will be your refuge, your rest, your firewall against the world. I give you my heart, beating with the frequency of our own radio waves. These bands we place around our fingers broadcast our commitment to each other. I will be walking on air with you by my side.
Your marriage begins with the vows and promises that you spoke to one another today. The marriage vow is a promise of fidelity and honesty. Ralph, do you love Kendra willingly and completely, withholding nothing? Will you protect her and give her your deepest considerations of her feelings, desires, and needs?
I will.
Will you strive to keep your love flexible and adapt to changing circumstances in the marriage? And will you be Kendra's counselor, helpmate, sweetheart, and lover, and her best friend from this day forward?
I will.
Kendra, do you love Ralph willingly and completely, withholding nothing? Will you protect him and give him your deepest considerations of his feelings, desires, and needs?
I will.
Will you strive to keep your love flexible and adapt to changing circumstances in the marriage? And will you be Ralph's counselor, helpmate, sweetheart, and lover, and his best friend from this day forward?
I will.
And now for the rings. Ralph, as you place the ring on Kendra's finger, please repeat after me. I give you this ring to wear.
I give you this ring to wear.
As a symbol of my abiding love.
As a symbol of my abiding love.
My eternal faith.
My eternal faith.
And my undying devotion.
And my undying devotion.
It is an outward reminder of our inner unity.
It is an outward reminder of our inner unity.
And Kendra, as you place the ring on Ralph's finger, please repeat after me. I give you this ring to wear.
I give you this ring to wear.
As a symbol of my abiding love.
As a symbol of my abiding love.
My eternal faith.
My eternal faith.
And my undying devotion.
And my undying devotion.
It is an outward reminder of our inner unity.
It is an outward reminder of our inner unity.
You were both moved by a prayer from the Jewish tradition and wanted to include it in your wedding ceremony. The Shehechianu is a joyous blessing that is recited at the arrival of any long-awaited occasion. It speaks to our thankfulness for three parts of life. The first is for life itself. The second is for the people in our lives. And the third is for this very moment of joy and celebration. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, O God, for giving us life, sustaining us, and allowing us to reach this joyous time. And now, to all the friends and family who have come to celebrate this union, and with the power vested in me by the state of California and Her Majesty the Queen, I take great pleasure in presenting for the first time anywhere the united couple, Kendra and Ralph. You may now kiss one another.
Interior, wedding exhibition, day.
I do love a good wedding. Of course, Mr. Holmes had to then stand up and say how clever he'd been and claim the credit for everything.
Ah, yes, well, I first encountered the happy couple here in this very building a while ago when I was chasing the Scarlet Tiger. I saw immediately how taken they were with this exhibition, how devoted to one another they are, and how they might suit my scheme of trapping the nefarious Professor Moriarty. I knew that Ralph and Kendra, or the anything but beleaguered bride and groom, as they are happily called now, would be here today, having got locked in the night before. I locked them in myself, in fact. They almost certainly couldn't resist trying on some of the splendid clothing. They would be as ready as they would ever be to be married to each other. This, then, is my gift to them. I wish them all the happiness in the world. I said earlier that Dr. Watson and Josephine Bell would not be married here today. This is because they are already married. They are here with us disguised as caterers.
Holmes, what about the bomb?
All in good time, dear fellow.
Now would be a very good time, Holmes. I really don't like bombs.
My husband has a valid point, Mr. Holmes. Perhaps you could explain your reasoning on this matter. Succinctly, please, so that we may all proceed with the dancing and feasting.
I concocted a plan to see Ralph and Kendra married here in the museum, Dr. Watson, and Miss Bell married and safe, and Professor Moriarty and his accomplices exposed and arrested. At Baskerville Hall, Dr. Watson and Josephine Bell were married.
I do. Absolutely. Bring it on.
I do.
I had left instructions with Josie to come here to the wedding exhibition at the British Museum, disguised as caterers.
Holmes, you're amazing.
I know.
But what about the bomb?
Ah, yes, the bomb. Duck! No, you misunderstood me, I fear. I refer not to the action of stooping, but to Anas platyrinkos, the common European mallard or pond duck. Well, Inspector Lestrade had rounded up 18 ducks from the pond on Horsell Common. I, however, had counted 19. Where could this 19th duck have got to? It had been taken by Professor Moriarty to his underground lair beneath the police headquarters at New Scotland Yard, and an explosive device had been strapped to its underbelly. The duck has been brought here and was roaming the wedding exhibition. I say was because I found the bird and neutralised the bomb. We may be eating the duck later. And lastly, there is the Scarlet Tiger, the daring jewel thief who has these past months raided the jewellery boxes and safes of high society. Professor Moriarty accused Miss Bell of being the thief. A completely preposterous notion. No mere woman could have the audaciousness, agility and cunning to carry out such high-profile criminal acts. Only one person in the world possesses these attributes, Professor Moriarty himself. Inspector Lestrade, be so kind as to search the professor as he lies insensible under the chair. You will find concealed in his person the spoils of his felonious activities.
I'm afraid you're wrong about that, Mr. Holmes.
I'm never wrong, Mrs. Hudson.
You're wrong about the inspector finding baubles on the professor with a lovely speaking voice, because the professor has been set free by those two spirited young girls, and they have absconded together. If you hadn't been yabbering on and on, it wouldn't have happened.
I see. The professor has eluded me once more. I shall take pleasure in hunting him down.
Not yet, you won't. We need music for dancing, and nothing fancy, just a good old foot stomper.
And so, as Holmes and Josie accompanied each other on violin, the misadventure of the beleaguered bridegroom drew to a happy close. I had had no inkling that the beautiful Josie could play so sweetly, just as I had had no idea that she could make a series of deductions based on close observation, that she was closely associated with Professor Moriarty, or that she had mastered Baritsu, the martial art. She was, I'd come to realize to my horror and delight, a woman version of my best friend and colleague, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. We danced merrily into the night until Mrs. Kendra Scott threw the wedding bouquet.
Didn't I mention? The professor always has a plan B, or a second bomb.
But that is a story for another day.
You've been listening to KPCA, Petaluma, California, live production of The Beguiled Bridegroom. Congratulations to Ralph and Kendra from everyone at KPCA. And stay tuned at 2 o'clock for Darian Gold and All Things Pilates.